The suspect accused of beheading a coworker and slashing another before he was shot by a company executive in Oklahoma, Anton Nolan, recovering in a hospital now as charges were filed today. The ex-con also converted to Islam while he was in prison, stirring up fears that his act may somehow be related to the recent beheadings by ISIS terrorists. Those in the Muslim community speaking out against the heinous act.
He didn't do or say anything that would raise a red flag. It was very sickening that a human being can do this to another human being, no matter if they're Muslim or non-Muslim.
We don't have any association with these kind of people. There's some random guy who's just doing this crazy stuff, and they're blaming Islam for that. So that's not true.
Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is the president and founder of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy and a former lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy. It's great to see you again. You know, I'm interested in I know that you're always talking about and being a proponent of peace in the Muslim religion. What are we to make of what this man did and how he was potentially radicalized while he was in prison?
Yeah, and I think it's so important to really get the diagnosis right. I mean, obviously, no Muslim I've ever known would ever condone such a heinous act of barbarism and violence that he did. But we have to realize, I mean, aside from the condemnations of violence and the violent extremism, that's this nebulous thing, it's like a flu virus. I mean, it's not just one patient. You have a pandemic globally that strikes randomly, but it's not random. These aren't lone wolves. You look at his Facebook, it's an ideology of Islamist supremacism. So it's not just that Islamic State in Syria and Iraq, but it's all Islamic states that have a supremacist doctrine that say the West is anti-Islam, they're against liberty, against freedom. And until those Muslim voices, our Muslim voices, get the diagnosis right that we're going to promote liberty and fill that vacuum after the Arab awakening with freedom and not Islamic supremacism, you're going to continue to see this insanity repeat itself.
Well, but Doctor, what do you think the connection is, if any, between the beheadings that ISIS has carried out in the last couple of weeks and then this guy deciding to carry out a beheading right here on the home front?
Well, you can't help but make some connection. I mean, this actually isn't only the first beheading. There was a beheading in 2009 of the head of a moderate Bridges TV who beheaded his wife in an honor killing. So this is sort of how they get attention. They want to rip apart the West. They want to make us more emotional and antagonistic against Islam so that their narrative of pro-Islamism and the Islamic State gets heard. And the video, the social media penetration of ISIS, you can't help but think when he got out of prison, whichever programming he got from the jihadists in jail sort of kicked in when he started to see the social media of ISIS and others.
All right, so should this be a crime of terrorism or workplace violence in your mind?
I can't tell you how much surrender and weakness this is if we even consider workplace violence. If we as Muslims are going to fix the problem, we have to acknowledge as a country that this is a terror problem and that they're related. They're not simply separate incidents. It's a terror issue related to a theopolitical threat that infects the minds of so many Muslims, and it's a Muslim problem that needs a Muslim solution. And we can only do that if America acknowledges that the threat is real, it's a terrorist threat, and we have to address it systematically.
All right, great to get your thoughts. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, thank you, sir.